What up? What up? What up? Man, I like that. Whoever that is, already hit the like button. Real Master, what's going on, man? Appreciate you. Man, I was breaking my neck to get back home. I had to pick up my daughter. She was babysitting, trying to make some extra cash. And I thought she would be finished at 8 o'clock. And yeah, they ran over, of course. So we got my Dale Earnhardt on and was rolling back here and got set up. But yeah, let me know where you guys checking in from tonight. Hey, what's crazy is I do a lot of my podcast listening when I'm doing dishes or some laundry or whatever. That's crazy. I actually run a commercial cleaning business where I clean Chick-fil-A's aside from my regular job. And when I do have to go in when people call out, because people don't like to work nowadays, I'll do a lot of podcast listening. But yeah, let me know who's here, man. Y'all sign in. Let me know where y'all checking in from. North Carolina, Florida, Georgia, wherever. As we look to build this Built for Playmakers uh YouTube channel, this community. About to eat dinner. What are we eating? I had salmon and some potatoes earlier. Lonnie, Wisconsin. Woo! That's the ways. Is it cold there? Man, the weather in North Carolina here has been crazy. It was 35 degrees the other morning, and then it got up to like 75, almost 80 degrees the afternoon. That's straight pneumonia weather, as my grandma would say. Grandmasters and Tally. That's what's up. When I get back down there, we'll have to link up. But yeah, if you guys have any questions as we let more people tune in, um, let me know and just put them in the comments and we'll address them. But we're going to be talking FSU, Miami, hate week, rivalry week. Man, been waiting on this game a long time, and this game has set up pretty much how I thought it would. It's been funny and exciting to see how earlier in the year, there was a lot of hype with Miami, and you know, they look better than they did last year, and blah 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 blah. And I mean, dang, you couldn't help but to be better than they were last year. I mean, they were awful last year. I mean, they got blown out by Duke. They got blown out by Middle Tennessee State, North Carolina. I mean, how many us? How many blowouts was there? You know what I'm saying? So I mean, to not have those blowouts, obviously, I mean, some progress has been made, but they had a good recruiting class in Mario's first year, so a lot of people were talking about that, and of course, the Miami clown show beat writers were talking about all the freshmen that they were playing. When they were playing Bethune Cookman and um, Temple, and I can't remember the other cupcake, and then of course Texas A&M. And I mean, you should win those games. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of people gave Miami credit for the Texas A&M win. And if you watch that game, that was that told you more about what Texas A&M wasn't than what Miami was. And I said it at the time. I was like, that win doesn't really mean anything to me. I mean, it was good they beat A&M for their sake since they lost the previous year, and they gave them a little momentum. They were 4-0, but As soon as they begin to enter conference play and play as real teams, you saw the numbers that they were generating against lesser opponents. You saw those numbers begin to change. I wrote something. I've been posting online on Twitter, just kind of giving out some little, did you knows and that sort of deal, just to kind of give an idea of where I'll be going with this analysis as the week progresses. And you know, Miami padded a lot of stats against lesser opponents. A lot of stats against lesser opponents. And you know, one thing I've said is, everybody talks about the defense for Miami, being good, and it is the strength of their team probably, but the two the two offenses that have ranked in the top 20 that they faced have both scored 30 plus points. That's and that's North Carolina. And everybody else as they played, don't even come close to what FSU has to offer offensively. And then whenever you start looking at Miami from an offensive standpoint, um, they haven't scored more than 23 points in regulation against ACC opponents. I mean, so that kind of tells you what you're looking at offensively with what Miami, brings to the table. Defensively, it's the same Miami you always have. They got athletes on defense. They're going to be aggressive, but it's nothing that FSU hadn't seen before. So Lonnie, I appreciate that. Yeah, definitely try to give some perspective on everything. But looking at how these two teams match up, of course, we'll do the usual video breakdowns that I usually do before the games or whatnot. But tonight we're just talking about just in general, kind of the state of the two programs and that sort of deal. And again, we'll break down the game as the week goes on. And I've written a piece that'll post tomorrow on chopchat.com that you can read, and it talks about the many advantages that FSU has going into this game. I mean, FSU's a 2 touchdown betting favorite for a reason. And some people may wonder if, hey, what's up, T Murray, 1578? Appreciate y'all tuning in, man. Y'all hit that like button if you haven't already. But yeah, so looking at how the two teams match up and everything, it's they're 2 touchdown betting favorites for a reason. So some people may wonder if that means Tyler Van Dyke is going to be the starter for Miami, or if they're going to start Emory Williams. I mean, personally, I think they would be crazy to put Emory out there. I mean, they had to put him out there against Miami. I'm sorry, against Clemson, but that was a game that was a home game for Miami. He's never seen anything like Doak when Doak is Doak, when FSU is rocking. That would be a mistake in my opinion. I would, if I were Miami, I would essentially run the ball, 40, 50 times and try to slow the game down. And that way you can probably limit the turnovers that you may get from the two quarterbacks, whether it's Van Dyke or Emory, and keep it close, hopefully, and kind of go from there. Tyler T Murray says, "How long the show been going?" Man, it started about 8:34ish, 8:35. I got on a couple minutes late, so you really haven't missed too much. I kind of was just breaking down why I was on here late. Yeah, I agree. They got to go with Tyler Van. T Murray says Tyler Van Duke. He's been playing like that the last few weeks, man. But I said it before. I said it before the season. Van Dyke, if you get pressure on him, he's not mobile, so you don't have to worry about that. If you get pressure on him, He will turn it over. He'll see ghosts. He'll get happy feet. All those things, and so that's why I've never really been worried about Miami offensively. As long as you stop the run game against Miami, you saw that in 2021. That was when Van Dyke didn't have a lot of film out there. You didn't really know what you were going to get. But, you saw Jermaine Johnson and Keir Thomas and that FSU defense in 2021 get after him. And, I think he wound up throwing, I know he threw one pick. He may have thrown two. They got really lucky on a tip pass that, went for a touchdown. And of course, last year he wasn't really healthy, and I don't think he's healthy this year either. So Miami's in a tough spot, and for all of the recruiting, all of the recruiting prowess that people want to put on Mario Cristobal, look, you can land. Obviously, guys in the trenches are important. Offensive line is important. Defensive tackle, defensive ends are important. But if you don't have a quarterback, it's not going to do you much good. I mean, look at FSU. FSU had tons of talent. Well, I should say on the defensive front, FSU had a ton of talent there in 2017, 18. Didn't have quarterback play, and obviously the offensive line was terrible too. But a good quarterback can kind of make up for poor offensive line play. But Mario does not have a quarterback on the roster that scares me. And the guy that he has committed in the 2024 class definitely doesn't scare me. And the crazy part is we've seen Mario have a first round draft pick and Justin Abear, and you saw him regress. We've seen Tyler Van Dyke regress as a passer under Cristobal. So unless Mario can find a quarterback out there, they may go to the portal. Who knows? Doesn't look like Ja'Cory Brown is going to be an option. Sounds like Miami fans think he wants to hit the portal potentially. And from what I saw, since he's been in Miami, he's not it either. So I've never been really afraid of him. So for all of their recruiting wins, so to speak, last year, and then the few that they have in the 2024 cycle, they don't have a quarterback. That's a problem. So until they can nail that, Miami's never really going to be a team capable of winning championships. And it sounds like that is something that teams are keying in on as far as pointing out that offenses, offensive coordinators and good players, good quarterbacks go to Miami or go play for Mario Cristobal and just regress and don't do well. I mean, look, he's already fired one offensive coordinator. We've seen the offense under the guy that they have now this year regress as they've gotten into conference play. And so if I were, because Mario and those guys do some nasty, underhanded stuff on the recruiting trail. They try to negatively recruit because they can't recruit in general. They do a lot of negative recruiting. And if I were an opposing coach going up against Cristobal, I'd be hitting them jokers with everything you can think of as far as negative recruiting based on what he does offensively or does not do offensively. So going forward, we'll see if FSU takes care of business against Miami this weekend as expected, and then Miami still has to play Louisville, and they still got to play Boston College. And listen, if Miami goes and loses to FSU and Louisville, Boston College would be the perfect team for them to finish their season out on, quit on the season as they normally do whenever FSU beats them. And man, that would be so perfect for them to end the season on a 3-game losing streak. How many wins does Miami have? I don't even know. Are they bowl eligible? I think they are. Yeah, I think they are. So they could potentially go what 6-6 at best if they lose all three of these remaining games. From 5-7 to 6-6, man. That's some improvement. That's some improvement, man. I don't know how you're gonna sell that on recruiting trail, but hey, whatever. No doubt the games got played and the offense got dissected on film. You're right. I mean, where's my guy? Where's my guy that was talking about teams had to um, scheme to stop Restrepo? You remember if you guys watched the video that I posted a couple weeks ago where the guy from Miami, the clown from Miami, I should say, was talking about that Xavier Restrepo was better than Keon Coleman. And what's crazy is since that guy said that, Restrepo has like 5 catches. He hadn't scored yet, and I pointed out at the time that like 80% of his production came against terrible teams, and the few touchdowns he scored came against subpar competition like non-power 5 teams, or whenever they were losing big against North Carolina. So yeah, the games got played. Whenever they faced some real competition, those guys, don't have much to offer. And then defensively, you look at it, and one of the other things too that FSU is going to have an advantage over is FSU has more depth. I was watching the NC State game the other night, and I mean, there was no way that Miami could win the game. They were losing 17-6 with like 5 minutes left, so it's a 2 possession game. And I still saw Ruben Bain out there. I think that's his name, the defensive end, the freshman defensive end out there with 1 minute left in the game. He was still playing with one minute left in the game, and they're losing 20-6. What sense does that make? And so, FSU has been rotating guys for the whole year. And yes, it was frustrating at times when you had some freshmen out there making mistakes. But I think that's probably why FSU's been dominant in the second half. And we saw Miami begin to fade against NC State in the fourth quarter on Saturday night. There was a 4th-and-1, pretty much on like the NC State 3 or 4 yard line. And Miami, everybody talks about the offensive line being the strength of their offense. They needed 1 yard and they couldn't get it against NC State. And then there was a turnover on downs, and then NC State, whose offense is terrible, basically went 97 yards on, I think it was 8 or 9 plays, and 6 of those plays were running plays. And you basically saw Miami, do typical Miami stuff, get emotional, want to start fighting, trying to knock guys out instead of wrap up, miss tackles. Man, that's the game. And so Saturday, I expect Doak to be rocking, and Miami's, this is their Super Bowl. They have nothing else to play for. That's why I think if they lose this game as expected, they're probably going to lose the next 2 after that. So they're going to come out there and they're going to give everything they have in that first quarter and a half or so, and just weather that storm. If you get an early lead, if you get like a 10-0, 14-3 lead or something like that, I think those guys will quit. I think they'll quit. They always quit. And that's going to be the key. Just getting out early, punching them right in the face. And, I think you'll see those guys lay down. They're kind of like their fans, I tweeted this the other day. Miami fans are the type of cats that always get real loud before a fight, right? You see those cats that get real loud talking about what they're gonna do, and then when it's time to actually fight, they can't fight, and then they get dismantled really quickly. That's kind of what Miami fans are like. They're out there just talking reckless, and then they can't actually fight, and so they get loud to try to avoid the fight, I think, and then it's a little bit too late. So, question here. So, is it California says, do I think Douglas will return punts again this week? Probably depends all on Keon Coleman. Man, if I were FSU, it depends on Coleman's health. If he's healthy, I would put Coleman back there to return punts because Ja'Kai Douglas isn't really a threat to change the game in that respect, and he didn't really look comfortable. He's done it before, but he didn't look too comfortable. But that was the first time he's done it all year. He did kind of fumble one there in the Pitt game, and luckily it went out of bounds. So it just depends on Keon Coleman's health, and I think Keon and Johnny will play. I don't think there's no question that they'll play. I just think they probably figured that they would be able to beat Pitt without those two guys, and it was a gamble on Norvell's part, but they knew that Pitt was going to be able to score more than probably 13 points, 14 points in that game, and so I think they probably just held those two guys out for precautionary reasons. I never expected Johnny Wilson to play in that game. I fully expected whenever he got hurt against was it Syracuse, I fully expected them to hold him out into the Miami game at the very least. And Keon, it sounds like I think it's probably just something minor, and they didn't want it to probably get aggravated against Pittsburgh. And so I expect both of those guys to play. But I thought it was impressive that the FSU offense put up over 500 yards against the Pitt defense. That really, when you look at the advanced metrics, Pitt's defense is on par with Miami, and it may be better in some respects than Miami. They were ranked number 33 going into that game against FSU this past weekend by FEI Advanced Metrics. I'm looking it up real quick. But I'll see where Miami is, but they're almost interchangeable. Let me see. So Miami's defense is ranked number 25 according to FEI, and Pittsburgh's, and this is after the FSU game. Pittsburgh's defense actually improved to number 28. So Miami is number 25, Pittsburgh is number 28. And you'll probably hear other podcasters and other cats, get on here later this week and talk about how great, Miami's defense is, but it's no better than Pitt. Pitt gets a lot of tackles for loss, just like Miami does. Bring a lot of pressure, just like Miami does. They're vulnerable in the secondary, just like Miami is. So you pretty much saw the blueprint on what Miami is going to do against you with what Pitt did, and so up front especially. And so you just put up 500 yards against that Pitt defense, and really you scored 24. You could have scored 30 plus, if you wanted to there on that last possession. You could have punched it in probably. You had a turnover in the first possession, and then you got a turnover on downs basically on the Pitt 2-3 yard line. So you capitalize on those, you score almost 40 points against Pitt without Keon Coleman and Johnny Wilson. Looking at the comments here. Grillmaster said, I see it being 14-10 and a half with us in the lead in the game, 42-10 with the second half takeover. How many running back tight end screens against the Canes? That's something I thought that they probably used it for two different reasons. They wanted to use it as an extension of the running game against Pitt. And then it's probably something else that, Miami's got to prepare for, especially, they ran counter a lot against Pitt, and it was, it wasn't really successful, and you kept kind of wondering why they keep running counter. But when you think back to last year's game, the counter is what FSU killed Miami with over and over and over. And so, running counter like that against Pitt, against a defense that's similar to Miami and Pitt. That gives Mario and those guys something else to think about. Like, oh, well, yeah, they killed us with counter last year, so we got to spend a whole lot of time preparing for counter. And then, knowing Mike Norvell, because he always has plans A, B, and C, they can run other wrinkles like inside zone. They can run Jordan Travis. They can go to the screen game, if they want to spread that defense out a little bit, which should help open up the run. I think that's what helped trigger Trey Benson's run also. They kept going to the screen passes and spreading those guys out and open up some space. And there you go, Trey Benson right up the middle for a 55-yard touchdown. Matt J. What's up, Matt J? Welcome to the stream. Miami probably won't score 10. I'm going 3 against Max. TV is broken and they have no answer for that fact. Yeah, I mean, well, I won't say they may score more than 10. They may score like 13 to 17 points, something like that. And I'm counting garbage time and all that good stuff. You just never know how those things shake out once you get a big lead and guys lose focus and whatever. If Miami scores more than 20 points, I would be very, very, very surprised. It would have to be like a defensive score or FSU turning the ball over, 2 or 3 times, giving Miami a short field or something like that for them to score 20 plus points, in my opinion. T. Murray says FSU just has to play smart and stay away from the stupid penalties. They'll be fine. Miami's arrogance will get them beat trying to man up and blitz. Right. Yeah. I mean, that's what Miami's going to do. They're going to blitz. I don't think their secondary can cover FSU's guys at all. I mean, we saw it last year. I think Cam Kitchens and James Williams are good safeties. I don't think they're elite by any means. I saw, I think Kitchens has a first-round grade. I don't know. I don't know about that. I mean, he's good. I don't think he's a first-round talent. Definitely not in coverage. Yeah. So, and when you heard Mike Norvell and Adam Fuller talk today in the press conference, if you read between the lines, Mike Norvell said he knows they're going to get a lot of one-on-one opportunities, and that tells me right there that he is licking his chops, looking at Miami's film, knowing that he's going to have Keon and Johnny and Jaheim Bell, Morlock. We've seen Marquiston Douglas get more active in the passing game lately. You still got Toa Philly coming out of the backfield. Rodney Hill can catch out of the backfield. Benson can catch out of the backfield. Gazai Holmes. I mean, they have so many weapons. They're so diverse. There's so many ways that they can attack you. And here's the other thing. Whenever you're looking at Mario Cristobal and his staff, when have you ever seen them start a game and not really be able to do anything and then find some things that work and have some sustained success? Very, very, very few times that I can recall, especially against decent teams. For instance, if you look at NC State, they kicked a field goal a Saturday night, and then it was another field goal, and they just never really got anything going. Some of that was TVD turning the ball over, but you never saw them just be able to kind of find something that really works and like be able to sustain success with and score, another 7, 14, 17 points. FSU, on the other hand, we've seen them kind of stall. It may be a tackle for a loss that gets them behind the chains. It could be a penalty. It could be lack of execution. It could be some play calling or whatever. And, you may force them to punt 3 or 4 times. But then you'll see it's almost like Norvell and staff will say, okay, well, that plan didn't work. We're going to go to plan B. And you kind of saw that. They were running counter. They were running screens. Pittsburgh started to snuff that stuff out. Then they went to RPOs. You saw them move right down the field. Touchdown. Then you go back to the screens. Then you hit inside the zone. I mean, there are so many different ways that they can attack you, man. It's got to keep defensive coordinators up at night. It's crazy. Matt J says FSU can stack the box all night and force TVD or whoever's back there to beat them with their arm. It's not happening. I agree. That's exactly. Also, I was going to mention that too. So one thing Adam Fuller said today in the press conference was, he talked about how, TVD's talented and all that good stuff. But he kind of insinuated that, if you get pressure on TVD, which is true, if you get pressure on TVD, he's not effective. He'll throw you the ball. He'll see ghosts and all that. I expect FSU to bring pressure a bit earlier than usual. Back in in games in the past, we've seen them kind of be vanilla, not really do a whole lot as far as pressure and all that good stuff. But I think with Miami's offensive line, they do have a good offensive line. I don't know if it's as good as a lot of people think. I mean, it's good though. I think Fuller knows they'll probably have to bring an extra guy here or there and stop the run, get pressure on TVD or whoever's back there. And like you said, I trust secondary against their wide receivers, no question. We've seen better receivers than what they have. And FSU is allowing a national low of 48% completion percentage. And they're leading the nation in passes defended at I think it's like 50. It's in the 50s. It's something ridiculous. I'll look it up real quick. So yeah, that's definitely the key. Look, if Tyler Van Dyke and those receivers can beat you over and over and over, and your offense can't score enough to beat Miami, that would be a shame. But I mean, you would have to give Miami credit. Yeah, FSU has 53 passes broken up on the season. That leads the nation. Grillmaster, has Miami been able to run the ball against the stacked box? No, that's the crazy part. Miami has a decent run game, but whenever you look at Miami against good defenses, I think my guy Rico Burt on Twitter tweeted that today. Hold on, let me see if I can find the stat real quick because someone tagged me in it. They have, let me see. I know this isn't great podcasting, but hold on. Here we go. So credit to Rico Burt 11 from Twitter. So excluding garbage time stats against ACC opponents, Miami's offense has finished with negative EPA rushing in 4 or 5 games, negative EPA in passing in 4 or 5 games, and negative EPA rushing and passing in 3 or 5 games. And this is arguably the best defense they'll face. I mean, they play Clemson. So you could argue which defense is better. And, Clemson's lack of offense is what lost them that game, along with all the turnovers. Let's see. So, no, Miami and FSU, aside from a couple of runs here or there, where a linebacker, doesn't fill the right gap or they don't set the edge, or against Duke, they hold and then it doesn't get called. Aside from that, against a traditional run game, they've been stout against the run. Miami might break off a run here and there, but I don't think they're going to be able to consistently run the ball against FSU, especially if they're bringing 6 or 7 down in the box, 8 are in the box. I mean, you have an option. You can bring guys down, stop the run, and you could run blitz. You could drop guys in coverage because TVD would throw it to you. I mean, that's kind of what NC State did. They would rush 3 and drop guys in coverage on passing downs, and they picked 2 of them off, and they should have had another one. Let's see. T. Murray says, no need to stack the box. That's what you want. That's what they want you to do. TV struggles with zone. Yeah, that's kind of what I was alluding to just then. Grillmaster, most of their production has been against outmatched teams. TMU was really the only game with matched talent that Miami won. Yeah, and Texas A&M's secondary isn't anywhere close to what FSU has. Phil Fournier says people starting to understand that Norvell has some Isaiah Thomas in him. He might seem harmless due to his stature, but don't get it twisted. He wants to dominate, just not in a dirty way. Listen, I've been saying on Twitter, like, look, Mike got that dog in him, man. Hey, Mike got some what for in him. You saw that last year against Miami. I mean, look, he was trying to send a message. And look, and you saw if you watched the cinematic recap from Pittsburgh, they released a couple hours ago. You saw whenever he had the team after the game in the locker room, he was congratulating them as far as guaranteeing a spot in the ACC championship game. But at the same time, he kind of was expressing the importance of this Miami game. And it's not like he was saying, look, this Miami game is more important than the ACC championship game. But, he kind of let them know, well, they know too. He was just reiterating that, hey, this game is something where we can finish out strong, undefeated in the ACC. You beat a rival. There's bragging rights. There's recruiting. Recruiting effects that happen with this game, and so yeah, he's definitely got some dog in him for sure. Grillmaster says, "Do they have a true wideout? What percent are they throwing outside the numbers? I'm not sure, but yeah, they do have a couple wideouts. I think it's Kobe Young. I think is his name. Um, Restrepo, they'll try to scheme open at times, in the slot. I forgot the other guy's name. I mean, that tells you right there. Look, I follow teams pretty closely, and I don't even know all of Miami's players, and so that's kind of telling, I guess. Yeah, Jacoby George and Kobe Young, those along with the Restrepo, those are your three wideouts, and George is listed at 6 foot 175. Young is the guy that's bigger receiver. He's 6'5", 215. And he's got a little juice with him, so to speak. And then of course, Restrepo is a little scrappy dude. Um, so I mean, they're not terrible, but they got some wideouts. The problem is they don't have anybody that can consistently, get the ball to them against solid defenses. Gridmaster says, I think our D line is better than Clemson's. Clemson probably has better linebackers. Yeah, I think that's arguable. Probably either, I think FSU has more depth than Clemson at defensive line, probably. So over the course of a game, that definitely can affect things and wear teams down. We saw FSU get after Clemson pretty good there towards the end of that game. Yeah, that's definitely something to consider. Mike, we're running up Saturday, giving a chance. Absolutely. He's probably trying to score a 50 burger. I'm sure that I mentioned that, Mario and those guys have been playing dirty on the recruiting aspect of things. And so I'm sure Mike's got that in the back of his head, and, he's going to send a message, if at all possible, he wants to embarrass Miami in front of the home crowd. That'll be 3 in a row. That's twice that Cristobal has lost against Norvell. And so a lot of the negative recruiting that Mario and those guys can do really will lose whatever weight it has. I don't think it has much weight now, but whatever they're pushing out there now, there's not much you can say after getting whipped 2 years in a row by a staff that you're saying these things about. So yeah, absolutely, Mike's gonna make an example. Good Master says, I think that 2020 Miami game still pisses him off. Combine that with the negative recruiting. Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, I'm sure in real times, he wasn't even able to coach in that game. And so I think he probably knew, his team was outmatched on every aspect because they didn't have a true spring, summer, or fall to really implement anything. That was just a tough year overall. So I'm sure in the real time he was pissed, but in hindsight, I'm sure he's like, you know, I know with all of those things going against us, that probably was what was going to happen. So, um, Matt J says FSU shut down Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas Jr. Yeah, absolutely. And plus, you don't have the dual threat aspect of what Jaden Daniels brings. So whenever you don't have to worry about a quarterback, really taking off and running, I mean that simplifies things a whole lot. And Adam Fuller, even when he didn't have as talented defense as he has this year, against guys that were not mobile, they've always seemingly performed well. Because they've had decent defensive ends. You're going back to Jermaine Johnson and Keir Thomas against TVD and Rhett Lashley, the OC at the time, who scares me more than anybody that Miami hired last year or this year. If Cristobal was smart, he probably he should have kept Lashley, but Lashley went and took a head coaching job too, so you can't really fault him for that. But under Lashley, man, TVD was he was doing his thing. So yeah, but whenever you don't have to account for a guy running, and he's a statue back there, you can open up on him and pin your ears back and do a lot of things and get after him for sure. California have to bounce. Hey, I appreciate you. We're going to definitely do more of these lives, in the future as we look to build this community here. Rob Taylor, hey, what's up, man? From Montgomery, Alabama. Go Noles. Appreciate you checking in. Good perspective you guys are sharing. If you have any questions, keep them coming. We'll stay on here for another probably 15, 20 minutes if we have, some interesting comments and whatnot to go into. But yeah, what do you guys think is the most important thing from this game? Let me know in the comment section. Is it the effect of recruiting? Is it the support that Mario could lose if he loses this game? Because think about it. I said this whenever they hired Mario. I said FSU had just beaten Miami in 2021. I expected FSU to beat Miami last year. Some people were talking about Miami was more talented than FSU last year, and I thought that was a joke. And I expected them to beat Miami badly last year. If you recall correctly, I was saying that, and that's what happened. And I expect the same to happen this year. So one thing I was saying whenever they hire Mario is at the time, they're like, Mario's the savior. Mario's going to be the guy to turn this thing around. So, whenever they hired him, they put a whole bunch of financial support behind him. So, you had your, what's my guy that used to be on Twitter all the time, but now he's broke and getting lawsuits against him. And now Ruiz, John Ruiz. Ruiz was all over social media, talking about who they were bringing in, how much money they were spending. And they spent that money and brought a lot of talent in last year. But FSU whipped them, right? And you kind of saw some fallout, right? But they signed a good recruiting class, so they could still spin it as, we're rebuilding. We're going to be way better next year. TVD's coming back. They kept him from going to Alabama, although Miami fans are probably wishing he had gone to Alabama now. They have a more talented team. He's hired new offensive coordinators and defensive coordinators. So he's got his guys, everything's in place, right? And yet, if they get beat by FSU again, all the people that were contributing money and supporting Mario probably going to fall back and be like, hold up, man, hold up. You did some boneheaded stuff against Georgia Tech and cost us a win. You almost lost to Virginia. You just lost to NC State. You just lost to FSU. If they lose to Louisville and then Boston College, hey, that program's in trouble. They're not going to have enough money to fire him. He's not going to have the juice on the recruiting trail to get the guys that they need to complete to turn that thing around and to win championships. All the while, FSU's king of the state, Florida's down. Hey, FSU's in a prime spot right now. If they take care of business against Miami, take care of business against Florida. Florida fans are already turning on Napier also. So Mike Norvell is setting up to be in a prime position to run this thing for a while, similar to how Jimbo did whenever he kind of took over. And you had the same thing. Miami was down, Florida was down after Urban Meyer left, and so you're kind of going to have a similar situation with Mike Norvell here. The difference is Mike Norvell is much younger than Jimbo was, and of course Jimbo had all of the off the field stuff that really contributed to his demise, along with the health of his son. Those factors really have contributed to his downfall, along with winning. Winning that national championship, there probably was a sense of complacency with Jimbo, and he wasn't holding guys accountable. Mike Norvell does not strike me as someone that would stop holding guys accountable. Like I said, he's still young, real young, still hungry, and so FSU's in a prime position to take off. See, Matt J says being the best team of Florida beyond a reasonable doubt for sure. Poke, what's up, man? Appreciate you tuning in, big dog. I got to get my guy on the channel for sure. Hey, Poke, if you are recording later this week, hey, we may have to link up and do that. Talk Miami some. Y'all make sure y'all check out my dude, 863 Seminole TV. But yeah, so FSU's in a prime position to run this thing, man. I'm excited. I can remember coming on this. Well, it wasn't on YouTube at the time. It was just a regular podcast. I can remember, going back to the Jacksonville State game and literally watching that guy score, and thinking that. And I have been running Chop Chat. I've been running Chop Chat since 2016, and I'm not gonna lie, I literally almost quit everything related to covering FSU. Now, this is a hobby. This isn't a job. I do it because it's fun and I'm passionate about the team. But I mean, you make a little bit of money, but it's nothing to, it's not life changing or anything like that. But I remember as soon as I got scored, I almost just said, you know what, man, I quit. I'm not writing about this program. I'm not doing anything. And to think about where this team's come from since that game. And the crazy part was once they kind of began turning their thing around, beat Syracuse, beat North Carolina, and towards the end of that year, they lost the Florida game. But I remember thinking, then you had the whole Travis Hunter debacle on signing day, and I remember thinking like, man, there's some pieces here that if they do everything right, they're gonna have to fix some things. They needed an AD, which we knew that was coming. We knew they needed to get their NIL game, up to par. And I figured if they hired the right AD, that would happen. So that happened when they hired Michael Alford. And Mike had shown that he could get guys from the portal, and then they went right out and addressed the wide receiver issue whenever they missed on all of their high school targets. Got Johnny Wilson, Michael Pittman, Deuce Spann, and Winston Wright. And so it's like, okay, Mike seems to have an idea of how to fix this thing. If they continue to make a commitment to football with the new AD, I feel like it's possible. And I even recorded at the time. Everybody was boohooing, program's over, whatever. We're never going to be elite or whatever. And I remember just thinking, like, I see signs of that we can make this happen. And last year, me and Pope, we were one of the few early on to talk about, hey, everybody was talking about, making a bowl, winning 7 games or whatever, 6 games, 7 games, 8 games. And we were the only ones talking about, no, looking at the schedule, looking at the talent they've acquired, they should win 9 games, 9, 10 games. and we were spot on. We were way ahead of everybody. We were ahead all the guys that get to see practice every day. And and this year, if you go back on my videos and look, I had a video where I talked about, can FSU go 12-0, and I did my win shares, and of course you can't put every game at 100%, but I had FSU winning every game up to this point, and if you go back and listen, I gave some insight into why I thought they would win each game, and it's been pretty close to what has happened. So yeah. So Jeff Polk says tomorrow looking like the best day. Yeah, I think I can do that, man. I think I can do tomorrow night. We'll chat. I'll send you a message after I'm finished here. But they're in a prime spot. 9-0, 3 games left. I know some people are kind of discounting their chances of winning the national championship. It is all about the matchups. We don't know what the matchups are going to be if they make the playoff. But if you told me that we could get FSU's B+ game or A- game, they can beat anybody out there. No question. And we've seen, since the bye week, we've seen FSU play pretty consistently. The defense has been way more consistent than the offense. I said that before the season. I know you probably get tired of me saying it, but I told you the offense would determine how far this team would go. I really didn't have any worries about the defense. I knew they would be good enough to if you could hold a team to 20, 24 points and the offense is elite, you're going to win most of your games. And so that's kind of where I was going with that. But the offense has been, up and down, more up than down. But we've seen it have some lulls and not take advantage of the defense getting multiple stops in games. The Pittsburgh game Saturday was a prime example. But granted, they're missing multiple guys that are starters. So, but if you told me FSU's offense would show up and score the way they're capable of scoring, they can beat anybody. Now that's going to probably hinge on two things. It's going to hinge on Jordan Travis. It's going to hinge on the O-line, and more so Jordan Travis. I mean, the O-line is what it is. I don't think FSU necessarily has to run the ball. You want to keep teams honest, but I think they have enough weapons, and Norvell does a good enough job of scheming guys open or using, screens and different avenues of extending the run via the short pass that, they can move the ball. And if you got those different makers out there winning, capable of winning those one-on-one matchups, they can do some damage, man. So it'll be interesting to see who they get matched up with. Again, we still got some weeks to find that out. I still expect FSU to be number 4 in the playoff rankings that are released tomorrow night. I don't think they're going to penalize FSU for that game. When you look at what Ohio State did, they were losing at halftime against Rutgers, and Rutgers isn't any good. Whenever you look at Georgia, they didn't necessarily just blow the socks off of Missouri. Missouri's a ranked team, but they're not thought of as elite. And then of course Michigan, they didn't play anybody really. So Purdue, so whatever. So I don't think FSU's in danger of moving out of the top 4. Even if they did move out of the top four, as long as they go undefeated, they're going to be in there because Michigan and Ohio State play each other. So forth and so on. So let me go back to, as my guy Pope said, hit the like button, share the content. Yeah, we need some more subscribers. We're almost at 1,900 subscribers, which is crazy. That's hard to believe, man. That's hard to believe. So really appreciate the support. Grillmaster says people still don't believe it's possible to win it all, to keep focusing on the reasons why it won't happen rather than why it can happen. Yeah, for sure. You could do that with every team, right? I mean, that's every team. There's no team that just head and shoulders above um, everybody else. I mean, everybody talks about Michigan, but Michigan, we have no idea what Michigan would do when they play a real team. Now they're going to play Ohio State, and Ohio State is flawed. Excuse me. So I expect them to probably win that game. But when Michigan plays a team with a legit quarterback and like weapons on the offensive side of the ball, who knows how they're going to react? I mean, it was more fluky than anything, but we saw them get ran by TCU in the playoffs last year. So just saying, just saying. Um, Jeff Hill says, I think we got pretty good balance all over around offense, defense, and special teams. Yeah, we're like top 15 in all three categories in advanced metrics. We're like, well, I can tell you, I'll look it up real quick. We're yeah, we're number 13 offensively, number 14 defensively, and special teams. Let me see. Special teams. Now FPI has been down on. They're number 36 in special teams. I know SB Plus has us ranked higher than that, but yeah, we're incredible balance across all three phases. Byron B, what's up? Noles about to get straight bullied in the trenches. Eye emojis. Maybe. I doubt it, but we'll see. That's why they play the games. Michigan foes when they get punched in the mouth. Yeah, they haven't. That's the thing. They haven't played anybody to punch them in the mouth yet. So, hey, don't run Byron B, man. Hey, you welcome here, dog. Hey, we've been killing Miami fans on social media all week. I even listened to a Miami Spaces while I was at work this morning. Bruh, that space. Listen, I listen because I have anything else to do. I was working on some reports at work. I listened to a Miami Space that went on. It was going on for I don't know how long before I jumped in. I listened for at least an hour and a half, 2 hours. No lie. I logged off, went to lunch, came back, and the space was still going. It was still going. And the crazy part is the fans in there were talking like whatever they were talking about was going to solve the issues that Miami has. Like, they're talking about starting Emory Williams, benching TVD. They're talking about, why aren't they doing this and why aren't they doing that? The former quarterback, Malik Rozier, was in there trying to give some perspective on why Miami's doing certain things or whatever. And man, my dude, I can't think of his name, but my dude was in there like literally cussing. Like he went on this tirade for like 2 minutes. And I was like, man, there is no way that a college football team should be able to have an adult get that emotional. And I'm like, what are they gonna look like? What are they gonna look like after this week? This time next week, what is Miami Twitter? What are they gonna, or Miami X, whatever you want to call it? What are they gonna look like? I mean, are they gonna run and hide? I mean, man, we have so many bookmarks that we've been pulling, and we still got a lot of them in the stash. And I mean, it is crazy how Miami fans be talking reckless and like just pure nonsense. And just think that they're gonna do this or that. It is unbelievable, unbelievable. Matt J says, "Do you think Miami quits again?" Yeah, for sure. If you punch him in the face, I mean, if you go up something like 14-3, 17-3, make them one dimensional, it's a wrap. It's a wrap. I mean, if you make it to where they gotta put the ball in the air, hey, it's a wrap. And that's why I think Miami's probably going to run the ball a lot. If I were them, I would run the ball 40, 50 times, no lie. Try to keep the clock running. Try to get it to 3rd and 3, 3rd and 2, 3rd and 4, manageable stuff. That way you might throw a slip screen, little wide receiver screen, hit a running back out of the backfield, something like that. Try to keep the chains moving. Um, I don't think they're going to be able to throw the ball, downfield vertically with any success really, unless it's a bust of coverage or something like that. I mean, and the only time we've really seen FSU have any busted coverages is when they've got some young guys in there. We saw Conrad Huzzy. He made a mistake against Pitt, and that kind of cost him on that long pass that Fentrell Cypress ran dude down and stripped the ball before he went into the end zone. All of the big plays that FSU gave up against Boston College was when Kevin Noles was in there at safety. FSU's only the pass against Pittsburgh the other day that the guy got over Ronaldo Green. That was the first passing touchdown that the starting secondary has allowed all season. Everything else has been whenever they've had a freshman in there or the backups in there or Kevin Knowles was in there. That was the first touchdown that the starting secondary has allowed all season. That's crazy. That's crazy. Grillmaster says they're trying to convince themselves with all the nonsense. Yeah, it's all like what I like to call soft factors. It's it's kind of not one of those things like, hey man, those guys, I know they haven't played well in the last few weeks, but they're extra motivated to end FSU's perfect season. I mean, how do you measure that? Nobody is trying to lose this game Saturday. I mean, you don't think FSU players are motivated to beat Miami again, right? Well, I think this week the coaches are going to do a great job of game planning, and they're going to set these guys up for success. Even though they really Miami coaches haven't done that all season against legit competition. They're all of a sudden going to look at FSU and like wave a magic wand, and stuff that they're going to try is going to just work consistently. Don't work that way. It's not Madden. It's not a video game. Is TVD or Emory, are they going to just go out there and just play out of their minds or something, stuff that they haven't done all season? By this time, 9 games in, you kind of are what you are at this point. Miami hasn't played well against, legit defenses on offense. Defensively, whenever they play, legit offensive, they give up 30 points or more. FSU has consistently, been stout on defense this year. They're allowing only 28% on third down conversions this year. That's FSU's defense. And, they've been good against the traditional run game pretty much all year, aside from a couple plays here and there. And again, Miami will probably hit a couple of runs here and there. But are they going to be able to do that consistently? I doubt it. Yeah, TVD is cooked, man. He definitely cooked. He's always been bad against pressure. But the other night though, he really, they did that guy a disservice when they ran him out there. Who was it? Oh, against North Carolina. They ran him out there against North Carolina. And look, North Carolina defense isn't elite by any means, and they beat him up. And I don't know what they think is going to happen Saturday afternoon, because he's not 100% right now. And he's seeing ghosts. He's falling over when guys aren't even back there. The other night he fell down and nobody even touched him. And I was like, I thought his dude tripped him or something, but it was like he fell and then the dude hit him. That was crazy. Grandmaster says UNC is the closest thing to our defense they faced, and we saw what happened there. Yeah. And UNC really ran the ball down their throats. But that's the kind of a staple for UNC. You go back. I think they still scored a touchdown going back to the game 2 years ago when they had like 600 yards. I think it was. It's crazy. Verse and Fisk. Man, listen, shout out to Fisk. I thought he was going to be good this year. I thought getting him was big. especially with Lovett being kind of limited, and then especially with um, I got the guy that transferred from Miami. His name's skipping me right now. With him being unavailable, Fisk was a huge addition from the portal. Man, it's crazy that Fisk's production has been masked by guys holding him every game, but he's been wreaking havoc in there. So I mean, especially of late. So Adam Fuller talked about how he was motivated to participate in this Miami game Saturday. So it'll be interesting to see what he does. I'm also interested to see what they do with Jared Verse. Man, Verse has been playing great. I know people, casuals that only look at the box score and don't understand what they're watching. They look at, oh, he only has 4.5 sacks or whatever. They don't understand. Even though he's getting doubled and triple teamed and chipped and all that good stuff, he's still. I think my dude from ESPN, David Hale, posted he's still top 10. I think it's like number 8 or number 9 in the amount of pressures he's getting. I think it's something like 14% of the time he's still getting pressure on the quarterback, even though he's getting double teamed, even though they've faced 5 teams with mobile quarterbacks out of 9 games. Whenever you're facing a mobile quarterback, you can't just pin your ears back and get after him. So that dictates how you rush the passer also. So yeah, I'm interested to see. Man, he might have, especially late in the game. I could see Verse. I could see Verse and those guys really getting after the quarterback later in this game. I don't. I think FSU strength and conditioning staff is up there. I mean, when you look at it, man, this team is so different than even the Jimbo years. I mean, the physicality that they play with, they just seem to get stronger as the game goes. And so I can see in the second half that those, especially when they're rotating, Byron Turner and Gilbert Edmond in there, and because of their rotation, Verse and Peyton are still fairly fresh late in the game. I could see them really getting after those guys in the second half of this game. Let's see what we got here. Ariel Judah, welcome to the chat. FSU D-line will be on another level. LSU games a taste of what UM's quarterbacks will have to process through their progressions. Yeah, and and I don't even know how many progressions that TVD goes through. He seems like he kind of is a one read guy, and he's going to cut it loose, and that's why they've been pretty much struggling this year. Matt J says, I can't wait for the postseason. Daryl Jackson, thank you. I was wanting to say Darnell for some reason. Daryl Jackson, yeah, he should be available in the playoffs when we make it there. Grandmaster says, I think this whole load management thing they've been doing is huge. Get more of your defensive players without making them too injury prone. Yeah, for sure. I mean, if you can play 30 to 40 snaps at max effort, I mean, yeah, that definitely makes a difference. Also limits the amount of times you're out there, and usually whenever you're tired and fatigued, your technique begins to lack, and that's when injuries occur, when you're tired usually. So just like if you're in a fight in boxing, if a guy's out of shape and he's not conditioned, that's usually when you get knocked out. Think back to Hagler Hearns. Hearns gassed, Hagler tagged him, it was a wrap. Right? So yeah, I like I said, I'm confident in this game. I've been confident in this game all year. Even after the AMU game, and a lot of people were talking about how great Miami looked and all that good stuff. But I knew A&M was. I knew they were frauds, and like I said, here they are now with 4 losses. So it is what it is. In typical Miami fashion, play a bunch of cupcakes early, fool's gold, and then when the rubber hits the ground, true color show, right? So I'll stay on here for a couple minutes, guys. I actually got to get ready to go to work in a few hours, so I'm gonna take a nap and gotta get this work in. But yeah, if you got any other questions, shoot them in there. I got a poke. I'll shoot you a message and we'll see if we can get together for tomorrow. So definitely appreciate all of the support you guys have given your guy, man. Like I said, it's been fun building this channel, and make sure you hit that like button if you haven't already. And we'll look to do, like I said, the episode with Polk hopefully, and then also we'll do our usual film breakdowns. Um, Although I kind of already spoiled it, I guess it's not really much to look at from what Miami does offensively um, and defensively. But we'll break it down and kind of point out where FSU can take advantage of what they do and things like that. Um, but yeah, this was fun. This was a quick hour and 11 minutes. That went by real fast. But if you guys don't have anything else, y'all have a good night. Appreciate you, Matt J, for checking in. Like I said, we will definitely be doing more live streams. And until next time, go Noles.